Hello, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Tom Willey. Tom is a farmer, an organic farmer in Madera, California. And today he is going to talk and present the information that he shared at the Soil and Water Conservation Society's 2022 annual conference that was held in Denver, Colorado. And his presentation was originally made on August 2nd. Take it away, Tom.
Several years back, I wound up a 40-some-year production career in San Joaquin Valley row crop agriculture, 35 as T&D Willey Farms, a 75-acre certified organic intensive vegetable operation employing 50 full-time year-round employees. In retirement, I've had the privilege to engage with a group of legacy organic farmers, University of California Extension, and Chico State University's Regenerative Institute in on-farm research into no-till and reduced-till organic vegetable systems. As philosophically driven early adoption organic farmers, we were soil huggers and microbe worshipers from day one, convinced that compost, cover crops, the elimination of toxic and synthetic inputs, plus a good dose of tillage would transform our farms into horns of plenty. It did, though the road was rough and the learning curve steep. Decades on, organic farmers surprisingly found themselves targets of criticism from Midwest no-tillers and an emerging regenerative agriculture movement for our excessive reliance on tillage. 40 years ago, we knew little about the soil life that we worshiped, beyond visible earthworms, which seemed to disappear the more that we tilled. Only about 1% of soil organisms can be cultured in a laboratory Petri dish. So when the ongoing metagenomics revolution hit soil science, a technology that characterizes the collective genome of microorganisms from an environmental sample, we learned that a handful of soil can host 10,000 to 1 million unique bacterial species, while several meters of fungal hyphae, representing hundreds of species, can interlace a single gram of soil. To be sure, few of these are named or explored as to the functions they might perform in the maintenance of healthy, productive soil-plant ecosystems, the biodiversity of which is estimated to surpass that of any known environment on Earth. Jerry Hatfield, director of the USDA's National Soil Tilth Laboratory, calculates that the combined biomass weight of countless individual microbes in an acre of soil equals that of 2 adult elephants, totaling 10,000 pounds. Continuing revelations of biology's complexity and scale underfoot caused a handful of organic farmers to question the violent physical disturbance that our tillage practices were visiting on the subterranean architecture that microbial communities construct to benefit themselves and the plant communities with which they exchange services for energy. Our tillage events regularly destroyed their village, after which we expected them to rebuild. Reflecting on physicians' Hippocratic oath, first, do no harm, several of us individually set out to experiment with no-till approaches. Assisted by University of California's Jeff Mitchell, who's been tirelessly promoting no-till adoption in the Central Valley's conventional row crop community for some 30 years. Jeff got his hands on a Rodale roller crimper device designed as a mechanical herbicide substitute for terminating a cover crop in organic systems. Early individual on-farm efforts were mostly exercises in frustration, which led to the formation of our collaborative effort in late 2018, in the belief that sharing success and failure amongst a learning community would overcome discouragement and take us farther faster. The roller crimper has not proven as effective on California farms as it has been out east. We struggle particularly with grains popping back up after multiple crimpings, even when broadleaves in the same cover crop mixes are effectively killed with one pass. The roller crimper approach is favored if season-long residue cover is desired, when weed suppression, water infiltration, and soil temperature reduction are paramount goals. Our 3 cooperating farms, which range from 300 acres to just under 2,000, were primarily motivated by desires to build soil organic matter and to increase fungal to bacterial ratios in our soils. Row crop systems under tillage are bacterially dominant, as filamentous fungal hyphae are continuously sliced and diced by physical disturbance. Symbiotic mycorrhizal associations are especially prized for their ability to deliver moisture and nutrients, particularly phosphorus, to plants in exchange for sugars exuded through roots. The interconnection of root systems in plant communities by these fungi has been shown to act as an underground telegraph system by which plants under insect or pathogen attack can forewarn their neighbors to prepare defensive phytochemical immune responses. Jeff Mitchell completed comprehensive baseline soil testing to 1 meter depth on our farm plots in December of 2018, and we set out on a 4-year odyssey in pursuit of our goals by adhering as much as possible to 5 increasingly familiar soil health commandments. We armor soil by always maintaining living plant cover or residue on the soil surface. We minimize soil disturbance by abandoning the disc and chisel for shallow cultivation only when and where necessary. We increase plant diversity by rotations, which include cover crops of up to 12 species. We maintain continuous live plants and roots for as many weeks of the year as possible, intensifying photosynthesis to input maximum energy into our soil's battery. We employ livestock integration, if and when possible, to elevate soil carbon and function through the catalytic effect of ruminant grazing, an influence which factored in the evolution of the formerly grassland valley soils that we farm. This 5th commandment is the toughest one for California fresh produce farmers to swallow, especially if major big box retail grocery buyers unnecessarily discourage compost use in organic production systems. Peer-reviewed science demonstrates that organically managed soils using compost and green manures are associated with lower risks of human pathogen survival in soil. 2 of the 3 farms in our research group employ sheep in rotational grazing and regularly obtain food safety certifications while doing so. In addition to expected challenges of cover crop termination and weed control, our no-till experiments over 3 years have experienced a less expected shift in nutrient mineralization, which results in yield drags of 10 to 20%. Most successful no-till is practiced in regions where crops are rain-fed and relatively humid throughout the growing season. Humidity encourages the biodegradation of residues left atop the soil surface, while rainfall moves mineralized nutrients from same into soil and into the crop root zone. In California's semi-arid Mediterranean summer growing environment, plant residues and fertility inputs, such as compost, left high and dry on the soil surface, don't readily decompose, contributing less immediate nutrition to the growing crop. One of our experimenters has reduced yield drag by sprinkle irrigating a crop from start to finish, but more data needs to be collected on this approach, and not all crops can be irrigated by this method. Another approach, employing plasticulture, was demonstrated in 2020 with no-till watermelons on Phil Foster's San Juan Bautista farm. Our hypothesis was that a flail-chopped cover crop and compost left atop drip irrigated beds and covered with plastic mulch would decompose rapidly, mineralizing nutrients for the watermelons growing through it. It did so, roughly doubling the yields of adjacent beds treated similarly but without plastic mulch, and equaling or exceeding this farm's historical watermelon yields under tillage. Encouraged by these results, we launched a full-scale 2021 trial, adding full tillage with and without plastic mulch treatments to the no-till with and without mulch treatments, replicating each treatment 4 times. All treatments grew a multi-species overwintered cover crop on 80-inch beds that exceeded 10,000 pounds of dry biomass per acre before termination, the nitrogen content of which calculated to some 300 pounds. Secretariat seedless watermelon was transplanted on May 25th and harvested over 6 pickings between August 18th and October 14th. Replicated yield results show a strong advantage for plasticulture in both no-till and tilled systems. We were encouraged to see that no-till with plastic outperformed the tilled system with no plastic, the farm's historical production method. The world is understandably coming down on plastics for environmental concerns, and we would like to find a more acceptable approach that performs equally. We will begin experimentation with biodegradable plastic mulches in 2022. Our 3 farm cooperators have been practicing exemplary soil husbandry for over 3 decades, resulting in soils that measure from 2.5% to 5% soil organic matter. We learned from several expert tutorials that a 2% organic matter soil harbors some 5,000 pounds of organic nitrogen per acre within that once living material. Tillage aerates, enhancing soil oxygen that stimulates microbes to consume organic matter, mineralizing nitrogen and other nutrients for plant uptake. Typical Midwestern corn crops have been isotopically proven to favor nitrogen from organic matter 2 to 1 over synthetic nitrogen inputs. Just how, without tillage, can we stimulate that organic system to share more nutrients with our demanding crops? Our collaborative will explore several novel approaches over the 2022 growing season, including air injection subsurface drip irrigation, plowing without the plow, that will enhance soil oxygen, stimulating decomposer microbes to mineralize more nutrients from the soil organic matter pool built up over previous years. William Albrecht, our organic movement's anointed father of natural fertility systems, appreciated soil carbon's foundational role many decades ago, as evidenced by his essay in the USDA's 1938 Yearbook of Agriculture, Soils and Men. I quote, "Attempting to hoard as much organic matter as possible in the soil, like a miser hoarding gold, is not the correct answer. Organic matter functions mainly as it is decayed and destroyed. Its value lies in its dynamic nature." If we've learned anything over going on 4 years of farmer collaborative research, it's the truth of Albrecht's statement, written 84 years ago. We persist in our often frustrating efforts to harness this dynamic in service of high production organic vegetables under reduced tillage systems. Your creative collaboration is most welcome. Thank you.
right, I'm gonna, all right. All right.